Hello guys, it's me, Greed here. Listen, people have been saying Genji's good. Look at the top 500 leaderboard, bro. He's getting played. Genji must be good. You're a whiner. You just want to say Genji's bad because you're biased. Fair enough. I want to go over two things in this video. Firstly, why is Genji getting played if he's so bad? And two, why is Genji so bad? Because he is terrible. So, we'll get into that. Firstly, Genji's getting playtime because Hazard's getting playtime. Genji works really well with a Hazard. They have a similar playstyle, therefore it's really easy to follow up on what Hazard wants to do as a Genji because you're typically doing the same thing. Also, he works really well against Hazard because all the main engagement methods that Hazard has, Genji can deal with, and he doesn't need to deal with the spike block and he can get around the spike block, therefore, and the wall, he can deal with the wall, therefore, Genji's going to get playtime because he works really well with Hazard and he works well against Hazard, and it removes the target for the enemy Hazard to go for, therefore limiting the enemy Hazard's options. Good reason to play Genji. Second reason to play Genji is that Ana's getting a lot of playtime, and Ana is really good with Hazard and Genji. Okay, well, here's something to go over. Juno's the best support in the game. If Juno's the best support in the game, why is Juno not getting played? Good question. It's because if you want to run a Juno, you're going to have to run a Brig. And the reason for that is because Juno doesn't have any self-sustain options. She doesn't have any way to keep herself alive, and her health bar is generally lower. Therefore, you're going to run her with a Brig to try and keep her alive, because then otherwise diving the Juno would be too effective because of the fact you'd be forcing so many cooldowns and potentially killing her every time you dove her. Therefore, you run the Brig on purpose to try and keep the Juno alive. But because you want to run the Ana with the Hazard, there's no way to run Juno, Brig, and Ana together. Therefore, if you're going to pick the Ana, you can't pick the Juno because the Ana can't take care of the Juno as well as the Brig can. Therefore, you get rid of Juno out of the comp, even though she's the best support in the game, and replace her with an Ana because of the fact that Ana works better with Genji and Hazard, and because Juno can't keep herself alive when the Ana is on the team. Another great reason to run Genji. There you go. Third reason you'd play Genji. Sojourn and Widow are good. Genji is good at following up on Widow body shots and Sojourn body shots. He's also really good at fighting Sojourn and Widow to some degree. Therefore, another great reason to play Genji. From the sounds of things, it sounds like Genji fits really well into the comp right now. And what would you know? That is exactly why he's getting played. He's good at following up on Sojourns and Widow shots. He's good at killing Sojourns and Widows. He's good at killing Ana. He's good at getting, obviously, the Nano Blade and the Hazard. All great reasons as to why you would run Genji, even if he's bad. Now, why is Genji bad? Great question. Let's get into why Genji's bad. Genji's typically bad because his effort to value ratio and his risk to value ratio are completely garbage. There's absolutely no reason to pick him in a lot of cases because you're typically putting in infinitely more effort and infinitely more risk than you are getting value out. It would be like betting $1,000 to win $5. It's a fucking waste. It's pointless. But when you have things in the game like Reaper, Echo, Sojourn, Widow, just vastly superior DPS that get basically more value than Genji for safer, because they obviously take less risk, but also in a lot of cases are easier to play as well, it's obviously a no-brainer as to why Genji is terrible. I'm not saying that Genji is some throw pick hero that can do absolutely nothing, and that he's always really bad, and that if you pick him you lose the game, or that Genji cannot kill anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what is the point of picking a Genji when you can pick Sojourn, or Ashe, or Widow, or a multitude of these other DPS heroes who are vastly superior? Tracer and Sombra are great examples. They do similar things. Now, obviously, Genji's got a slight niche because he's better at high ground control than those heroes are, and which is a big reason he's getting played, and not Tracer. But even then, why would you still pick Genji when you could just pick another DPS instead? There's no reason. Sure, he's got better burst damage options than some of the other heroes, but even then, his burst damage option is relatively inconsistent because of the fact it's 3 small, slow-moving shurikens that you need to hit all 3 at the same time on that are relatively easy to miss. And if you miss one shuriken, you just lost a third of your damage output. And that can be a big deal, and it's especially a big deal when you're fighting things like Reaper and Moira. And Reaper, wouldn't you know, is getting some playtime right now because he's very good. Therefore, Genji's bad at dueling Reaper, which means that in the Reaper v Genji duel, the Reaper has a huge advantage because he has better escape tools, he's easier to play, he incurs less risk, and he can actually fight a Genji, but a Genji needs to put in infinitely more effort to try and kill that Reaper, but that Reaper has a better escape option because the Genji dash is not only a survivability tool, it's also his engagement option. Therefore, to play Genji, you actually need to be making much harder decisions because of the fact that it's all reliant on your dash. Where to use the dash to go in or go out is obviously a big decision. You can use your dash to get onto targets much faster, but if you make a mistake, then you have no way to get out most cases. Unlike a Reaper who can basically do Genji's job at a much slower pace, I agree, but can do it much, much, much safer. It requires far less skill and effort to put in, and you're typically getting a very similar amount of value anyway. Therefore, there is no reason to pick a Genji. A Genji is essentially just a really, really shit Echo. He doesn't have the burst damage that Echo does. His ult is worse than Echo's. He's harder to play than Echo is. He gets less value than Echo does. Echo incurs less risk. Echo is a better pocket target. There are just absolutely no reasons to play Genji outside of the fact that he fits the meta well. And that's my biggest complaint with Genji. I remember back years ago when if you picked Genji, you were either a massive thrower because he was so hard to play, or you were insanely good because he actually generated a ton of value if you played really well. Unlike Genji today, where there are so many options that just simply delete Genji from the cast, that it becomes insanely boring and relatively low effort to deal with him. For example, is McCree a really good hero right now? No, I don't really think McCree's a super good hero. Basically, the only thing McCree's got going for him is that he's really good at staying alive. Fat health bar, damage resistance, hinder, obviously all these things. The thing he's cucked by is his relatively slow fire rate, and especially his range is just downright awful. He really quite struggles to kill most things. He's only good at staying alive. However, he's really good at killing Genji, because all you do is you flash, wait out deflect, and fan him. And either, if the Genji used dash to go in and engage on the McCree, which you shouldn't do, but if he did, well then that's a free kill for the McCree. And if he doesn't use the dash to get on the McCree, well then the Genji has to path into a situation where he has to move around the map and spend time to get on top of that McCree to hope to not get hit by the hinder, because it's 75 free damage, and you get slowed movement, and you can't crouch, and you can't use your dash anymore. Therefore, just by picking the McCree, you're obviously generating a ton of more value by default, because you're forcing the Genji to make a much longer rotation so he can get on top of a target without needing to use dash, because of the fact that he needs to use dash to get out, because he needs to play off the hinder cooldown. So even though the Kree hasn't actually done anything yet, the Kree hasn't shot him, hindered him, nothing, he's already having a large impact on the game by default, simply because of the fact he's a target that you cannot go near without forcing a ton of cooldowns. Ana is a similar one. If Ana has nade or sleep, she's a really, really dangerous target to go for in a lot of cases, because you get hit by that nade or hit by that sleep, and then, especially the higher ranks, you are fucked. You just die. There's nothing you can do unless you've got like a Zarya on your team and you have dash and you can get out with bubble or something. Then, sure, it's not that bad, but even then, you still incur so much risk to go for such a simple play that it's obviously not worth it, because you can do the same thing on Sojourn. What is the purpose of me flanking around, avoiding the sleep, nade, Moira suck, hinder, avoiding all of that, getting on a support, dueling them, not getting hit by their game-winning cooldowns, potentially winning the duel, and then trying to get out, when I could just pick Ashe and double-click her across the map, or pick Sojourn and right-click them across the map, or go a multitude of other heroes that require basically zero effort, like Torb, and just spam down main. Now, do you get more value spamming down main on Torb as you do dueling a support on Genji? In most cases, no you don't. However, Torb is borderline invincible in that case, whereas Genji is almost always an extremely easy to kill target when he's doing his job. Therefore, even if he technically may provide more value, it doesn't matter, because there are so many more reasons to not do it, because of the amount of risk you incur, because of the amount of effort it requires, and because of the amount of minimal value it gets for both of those things. There's no reason to put in 1,000% effort, incur 100% risk, and get like 20% value, when you could go Sojourn, incur like 10% risk, put in 20% effort, and get 100% value. There's absolutely no reason to look at Genji over the current DPS targets and decide that yes, he is a strong hero. Does he work well in the meta right now? Absolutely. That doesn't make him a good hero. That doesn't make him a strong hero. He's still garbage. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, well, if he's on the top 500 leaderboard, he must be good, which is obviously fucking retarded. That's not true. It's not correct. Can we all just simply agree that is Genji a hero that's a throw pick that you can never get any value on, and if he's always terrible and he's never the right choice and he's super bad, and if you pick him you lose the game? Is that true? Absolutely fucking not. No. You can still win games on Genji, you can still play Genji, you can still win a game on Genji, you can still carry a game on Genji. The question is it worth trying to do? No, it is not. So there you go. The entire debate ends there. That's it. Genji is objectively a worse hero than all of these other heroes by a large margin, simply due to the fact that even though he may get the same value as them, he requires more risk and more effort to do so, and he requires infinitely more game sense and mechanical skill than a lot of the other heroes in the game. And that's just how it is. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Have a good day. I love you all. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.